Hello, my name is Scher, and welcome to my Reading Telegraphs tutorial. When you're sparring, wouldn't it be really useful to know what your opponent's going to do before they do it? Wouldn't it be useful to be able to see into the future? Wouldn't it be cool if you could read your opponent's mind, that you know what he's going to do and what he's planning before he does it? Well, there's a way to do this, and it doesn't involve mystical powers or mind reading or anything supernatural. It's called reading telegraphs. A telegraph is a subconscious pre-movement that your opponent performs before the attack that they intend to do. If you learn what your opponent's telegraphs are, then you're going to be able to know what they're going to throw before they do it. There's some telegraphs that are common to most martial artists, and there are some telegraphs that are individually tailored to a specific martial artist's style or habits. Some of the common telegraphs that you'll see when you're sparring will be dropping the lead hand when a lead leg kick is going to be performed, performing a step together motion before a lead leg kick is performed, dropping the front hand before striking with the front hand, twisting the body and dropping the front hand to the back of the body before a back leg kick is thrown, leaning backwards before a lead leg kick is performed, leaning forwards and twisting your hips before a spinning kick is performed, moving the lead leg a few inches in front of you before throwing a spinning kick. A very common telegraph is looking very closely and intensely at the target they're about to strike at. Some martial artists will stare at your midsection before they strike, or stare at your head, or stare at your feet if they're going to come in for a sweep. There are two kinds of fighters. There's fighters who calmly stand there, analyze, and prepare for an attack. And there's fighters who jump around and show off and try to be all tricky and fancy while they're fighting. These are the over-cocky fighters. The over-cocky fighters will put their hands on their knees and lean forward and stick their head out. They'll jump up and down and wave their arms back and forth. They'll stand full facing or switch their legs a whole bunch. The fighters that move extemporaneously like this are the fighters whose telegraphs are going to be larger and more obvious and more numerous. The fighters who hold still and move only when they need to and focus on their transitions and every individual move and make them on purpose. These fighters are the ones whose telegraphs are going to be more concealed and harder to deal with. If you've got the concept of telegraph reading down, there are certain things you can do to narrow down the range of what you need to look for when you're trying to predict what your opponent's going to do. For example, knowing the three circles. We talked about this in my blocking tutorial, as well as my best times to attack tutorial. You can click on the link above to see those. The basic concept of the three circles is if you're in circle one, you're close to your opponent, and you can only punch. If you try to throw a front leg kick or a back leg kick, it won't work. You'll be too close and you'll be jammed automatically. If you move back about a shoulder width, you can't punch anymore. And you can't use your back leg to kick because you'd be too close. Your only option is a front leg kick. If you move back about another shoulder width, you'll find you still can't punch and you can't use your front leg to kick. You can only use your back leg to kick. The same goes for your opponent. So if you can narrow down what your opponent's going to do based on what circle that they're in, you can narrow down what attack they're going to throw. If they're in circle one, you don't need to look for a telegraph for a back leg kick or a front leg kick. You need to be looking for hand telegraphs or upper body telegraphs. If they're in circle two, you don't need to be looking for the turning, spinning, or punching telegraphs, only the shifting and lead leg telegraphs. If they're in circle three, you don't need to look for the lead leg or hand telegraphs, you only need to look for the turning or spinning telegraphs. You can also look at their weight distribution. If your opponent has their weight on the front leg, they're not going to kick with their front leg. They're going to punch, or they might kick with their back leg. So if they're in circle three and their weight's on their front leg, they're probably going to throw a turning kick. And you can look for telegraphs to determine whether it's going to be a round, front, side, or hook kick. If they're in circle one and their weight's on their back leg, they're probably going to jump to circle two before they throw a kick. It's probably going to be a lead leg kick. The most common lead leg kick is a round kick, so they're probably going to throw a fading lead leg round kick if they're in circle one and their weight's on their back leg. While you're learning your opponent's telegraphs, you'll also learn what they throw most commonly. Most martial artists have 3 or 4 things that they do a lot, things that are their favorite. Like a lot of fighters like to do a turning round kick, or a jump in punch, or a step together lead leg round kick. If you can find the telegraph for these common things, you can put together strategies based on them and utilize them quite efficiently. Some people are more comfortable in an open facing and some in a closed facing. And sometimes people will only go to a specific facing to do specific techniques. So the facing that they're in, open or closed, can be a telegraph. Suppose you're sparring someone who likes to be in a closed facing and they go to an open facing. They're probably doing this so they can throw a back leg round kick without hitting you in the back. One drill I like to use to teach my my students about telegraphing and reading telegraphs is to pair them up and have them spar, very light contact with no mouthpieces in. While they're sparring, I tell them that they need to look for telegraphs, and once they've identified one, they need to call out what it is right before their opponent does the technique, and their opponent has to acknowledge whether that was what they're going to throw or not. The final step to understanding and reading telegraphs is to eliminate as many of your own telegraphs as possible. This takes a level of self-awareness that's very difficult and a level of control that's beyond a lot of martial artists. You want to throw your techniques with no pre-movement. The best way to do this is to stand in a fighting stance, the way you spar, and try to throw each of your techniques in practice without any foremovement or any extemporaneous movement before you throw the actual technique. Try throwing a lead leg round kick without dropping your front hand or shifting your weight backwards more than you need to. Try throwing a turning round kick without doing any pre-movement. Videotape yourself and see if you can catch any of the telegraphs that you perform. Thank you very much for watching my reading telegraphs tutorial. Please don't forget to share, comment, like, and subscribe. And please check out the other videos on my YouTube channel.